Welcome back to the What Good Words podcast. This is episode 56. Whoop, whoop. And it is the birthday episode because it is my 41st birthday today.
Happy
I am so
birthday.
excited. Thank you, Sarah. I was going to say, I'm so excited to have a guest on during the birthday episode. It's just so much more fun to celebrate with somebody else. Because it is the birthday episode, we have gifts for you. And stick around from the end of the episode to hear what kind of opportunities you have. There are actually going to be 3 gifts given out at the end of this episode. So either stick around or fast forward, but make sure you get entered before August 27 to win some of these birthday gifts. All right, let's get into it. So let me introduce you to Sara Gagnon, a relationship coach in this house. Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks. So I am a relationship coach and a self-awareness coach, which means I work with couples to clean up communication and get back to connection. And I also work with individuals who may have something that's blocking their life, and we start to clear that pathway for them. And usually clients get to see results within 3 to 5 sessions. So a lot of my clients call me a drive-through coach because we see results so quickly. It's a lot of fun, and I love what I do.
Oh, I love that. I actually had a life coach. When you talk about being self-aware, when you have a life coach, you think it's all about just like, what actions do I need to take in order to see progress? And so you just using the term self-awareness coach, you're like, that's step 1.
Yeah.
So I love that that's where you come from. Really, it's like, how just figure out what you're up to. So that's fantastic. We have been doing a series all about trust. So episode 1 that we did was episode 54 for the What the Works podcast, and that was all about, do you have a trust issue? Next up, episode 55, we walked through when trust has been broken with you. You've been betrayed by somebody, and what are some steps to take to get back on track, gain trust with this individual, and help them understand your point of view.
Right.
Today, we're going to get into a tough topic because it's about us making the mistake. And so we already discussed what it feels like to be betrayed. Now we're going to talk today about what you need to do when you did the betrayal. So when you broke trust. And so, Sara, tell us about a time that maybe you had someone break trust with you, and how did that feel? What did that look like?
Right. So this story has still lived in my body for the past 4 years. So it feels like it's still unhealed. It's still working. And I love that I get the chance to share it with your listeners because I'm hoping that this is part of the healing process, is just sharing some vulnerability with your listeners. So I had a leader or a manager that I had to report to in the education world, and basically ignored the sign that I was absolutely giving, like the nonverbals, sometimes verbal cues, that things were fractured in the relationship. And I can tell you that the more that she ignored what was happening, the more unproductive I became as an employee. I even tried having the one-on-one meeting that we talked about in the last episode. I did not have the skills that I have now, but I tried my very best to have a meeting with her about this vulnerable issue, this fracture that I could feel, to get back on track, because I could realize how much of my identity was connected to my work and how much value I was giving her as an authoritative figure. And it really was important to me to get that healed and solved. And unfortunately, she chose to bolt anytime it got to a really, the really sensitive or vulnerable space that needed to happen. We really just needed to have it out and clean it up. And unfortunately, she just ignored it or, like I said before, bolted from the conversation and chose not to realize that it was actually there. And the chasm just grew wider and wider between us. And it killed my productivity. It killed my spirit of teaching. And teaching is something I truly loved. So I felt like I lost a love. I had to grieve because ultimately this fracture led to my decision of not coming back to this particular school district. And that broke my heart. That is
Oh,
something
yes.
that I can very much relate to. When a manager doesn't see or hear their employee or notice that something's wrong, it hurts.
Yes. And I think as managers and leaders, right, we may or may not recognize those signs. And we are going to talk about what are some signs you can be looking for here in a second. But it never works well to ignore a situation. Maybe
That's right.
you feel too busy, you just got to keep going. And so it never really works when you ignore the situation. And that's why today we are going to talk through some specific steps you can take as a leader, as a manager at work, at home, with your
Hmm.
children, with your
Hmm.
family. How can you step into that space knowing who you are and knowing your worth, but also understanding and being compassionate of other people and what they might be feeling?
I just want listeners to know that I'm aware that there are really good leaders and managers out there already doing some of these things. And then maybe this episode is just a nice reminder for those of you who already do this. And congratulations. Thank you so much for being and doing all those wonderful things. But the truth is, we know that when things go wrong, we talked about in our first trust episode that we have to follow our instincts. And this is a reminder for leaders to do that as well, to notice when our employees are acting differently, behaving differently, their productivity changes, to use that as a gateway to a conversation. And um, I think that something that I was thinking about is like, why is it hard for when there's a fracture? I was thinking about, why does that happen for leaders and employees? And sometimes I think that because leaders and managers are in the position of making decisions and it happens so quickly that they're unable to communicate to their employees. And that's when sometimes a fracture occurs in that relationship. And I get that it has to be quick, but sometimes you have to get out in front of it or tell your employees, listen, our business moves very fast. Sometimes my words and actions don't line up. And it's because of the quickness that needs to happen. So I want to let you know that if I do notice that I'm doing something different than I said, I will let you know and I will come to you and own that in front of you. And that's just one thing I was thinking about. Like, why does this happen with leaders?
Business moves fast. And we know that leaders, you have to prioritize your work and your productivity and your efficiency. And we fully understand that. But we also know by only prioritizing those things, your employees and their value gets left behind. And we do
Mhm.
not want to have that happen to you, or for your team. But you won't want that either. And so we really want to be encouraging of you to take the time to have the conversation that we're going to set you up with here in a minute. But that 10-minute conversation that you have today saves you the weeks and months beyond, rather you waiting to have this conversation and the problem snowballs and gets bigger and emotions get bigger. And it's very difficult to have conversations later on when the emotions are so big that no one's listening to your words. So we
Yeah.
really want to help you set yourself up for success and set your team up for success. Another thing you just said, Sarah, that made me think there are some really great leaders listening to this podcast right
Yeah.
now. And how can you model what we're talking about so that the leaders under you start
Yeah.
utilizing this same system as well? And so I really hope the concrete steps we're going to give them today, they can take to their teams and help their teams model that, even if they're already doing it. Sometimes it's nice to have like a very clear cut system that you can
Yep.
walk other people through. Instead of going, I know I'm good at this, but I don't know how to teach anybody else. How are you good at this? That's when you send them episode 56 of the What If It Works podcast.
I love it.
All right, so let's get into it. What are the steps? We realize we're in the moment, we're at a meeting, and we see some sharpness from an individual or a lack of engagement from an individual. Like what's step number one?
We have to remember that people in general, just as humans, want to be seen and heard. And when they are showing those signs that Anne just described, they are feeling invisible. unimportant, not a priority. And it is hard to make sure that everyone's feeling that all the time. Take accountability for that. Know that. Go to your employees and say, you all deserve to be seen and heard. And I'm not doing a great job of that right now. So I want to make sure that I can do that better. That's one way that you can do it, just taking accountability and recognizing the signs of your employees and or your spouse if something's not going well at home. Recognize it and say, something feels off. It may be because I haven't had time to sit down with you in a while, and that's on me, and I'm going to make that a priority. So just taking that accountability, because if you know your people, you're going to know that something's off.
Absolutely. If you know your people, you can feel something is off. And now, as a leader, it is up to you to take action, knowing what you now know.
That's right.
What action are they taking?
So I would like managers and leaders and even spouses to ask for that one-on-one meeting, depending, certainly it's a little bit more informal if you're speaking to your spouse, but we talked about this in a very formal way when it's an employee asking a manager. When it's a manager or a leader asking an employee, we want to be a little bit more soft in our language because that can be quite scary. They deserve the one-on-one, that space with you, because you can tell that they need to be seen and heard. So I like that you're asking in an email for some space and time with them. However, please include soft language. Like, you don't have to come prepared with anything. I just want to have a conversation about things that I'm noticing about myself. We'll take the pressure off the employee and hopefully make them want to show up even more. And also, if that's not your language, maybe you can include some sort of soft agenda, again, to allow for them to know exactly what's going to be happening so they don't have to prepare a defense or an explanation, because we just want them to show up so that you can share what you're noticing.
Yeah, and former teacher, I remember I used to have a principal come in during my second hour prep period. Actually, it was a study hall, and so my students would be, working, and they would walk in and say, "Hey, can you just see me at the end of the day?"
Scared.
And I would want to ask specifics because other students were in the room. But I remember then third hour, fourth hour, lunch, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth hour, I was just like, what is it? Is it this? Go back. What emails have I sent this person? What do I know? What do I need to know? Who do I need to ask about this? Did anybody else get asked? And look at how I just spiraled out of control for 6 hours when maybe the principal was going to do exactly what you're suggesting me do, which is come with an apology for something they're noticing. And so really making sure in that communication, not just saying, hey, can I see you at noon? Hey, can you stop by sometime this afternoon when you're free?
Yeah.
Be very clear. I would love to speak to you this afternoon about something I'm realizing about myself. I'm thinking this will take about 10 minutes. Does that work for you? Right? Does that feel good?
Because I would love that, because otherwise, like you said, it robs us from our entire day. It's like a thief just came in and stole time and productivity. So I think that's a beautiful way to gently ask for them to come together and have a conversation.
And especially if trust is broken,
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust what you're about to say to me.
That's
and
right.
So like you said, I love, and I think it was the last episode you said, we prepare a case, right? We grab all the evidence to back us up because you might be feeling defensive of what this conversation is going to be. And so if you as a leader have broken trust with me, start to build that trust back, even in how you approach me to have that conversation.
I love that.
Clear, help me be confident in showing up so that we can have a great conversation. All right, so I show up to the meeting, right? What does the leader need to say to start to repair this trust?
So I'm going to share a 5-step apology. And I know that people are going to think, I didn't do anything wrong. It's okay. I'm still going to call it a 5-step apology because I want you to be in that space inside yourself when you're talking to an employee or a spouse. I don't want you to have defense. I don't want you to explain anything. I just want you to come forth with like an open palm kind of conversation. So here are the steps. You're going to just say, I'm sorry. The second step is for blank, whatever it is. but there is no explanation and no defense after that. You want to have something, and it could be as simple as, I'm sorry for not seeing and hearing you as much as I should. That could be it. If you can't find something specific, just use that and it will hit with the employee. I guarantee it. The third step is to validate. And you might say something like, however you're feeling about how I behaved recently or in this moment, it makes perfect sense. I'm open to hearing a little bit more about how you felt when you weren't feeling seen and heard. If that's something you want to do now, I'm open to hearing that. And then leave space. They might say, great, and then vomit out all the things. Or they may be like, I don't know, they might shy away from it and not feel like it's the right time. So as long as you're open to that and opening that space in the conversation for them is so kind, I think that will start to gain trust back.
I have a question for you, or a thought that I'd love to process out. There are some people who hate confrontation.
Yeah.
And I could see them instantly start apologizing themselves.
Well, we want to make sure that it's okay for however the person that you're in that space with is allowed to say whatever they want. So if they start to apologize and are in defense, that's okay. The leader just says, I appreciate those thoughts. I hear you. And just say, I appreciate what you just said, but I really want to take accountability for my part. But thank you for sharing your thoughts and feelings. And if there is something more, there will be a time for us to follow up, because I want to make sure that you continue to feel open with me and that they're or open door policy, or that we have we start to mend this relationship, because it's important to me that you feel seen and heard. I think that's what I would do.
I love it. All right, what are we saying next?
So after you allow for the person to share their feelings, and they do end up saying like, yeah, you know what? I just have been feeling so ignored and my ideas are not being heard. And I feel like I can really add more to this. I want the leader, manager, spouse, whoever is listening to just say, you're right. You're right. I bet that does feel awful not to be heard in that way or to be noted. And I could do a better job of addressing that or noticing that. And then saying the magic phrase, is there anything I can do to make it right now? Again, you're leaving a space for them to come forward. They might not do anything at that point, but you need to give them space. So you're like handing over the power to the employee, to the spouse, who's saying, yeah, you're right. I kind of screwed up. I didn't do well. That's, what you're saying is valid. And here I am giving you the power to tell me what I can do. That is such a game changer in these conversations.
I can feel that just right now. Like, it's not, hey, think about it and let's talk in a couple weeks. That feels
Yeah.
dismissive. It feels like you really don't care. Staying in the moment I can just feel like great eye contact, really positive eye contact. How can I make this right now?
And things that I've heard so that the managers or spouses can hear some examples. And when someone apologizes like that and uses that phrase, the other person has said something like, I just need a hug. That's more for like a relationship, right? But in the business world, people have said, I'm just so glad that you held this meeting. That makes me feel like we're on the same path together. We're going in the right direction together. So don't be afraid of giving the power over to the other person, because I have only heard positive things come back as an action for that person to take.
Often, let's have focus on the past. Let's focus on the future. And what I feel this conversation is doing is let's focus on the present.
That's right.
And then we'll move into the future.
The fourth step, after apologizing and then stating exactly what you're apologizing for, validate their feelings, open it up to them, then you are going to say another opening to them. What can I do to make it right now? You're throwing a ball to them and you're saying you have the power to tell your leader, your spouse, what they can do right now to make it right. It could be a follow-up meeting. It could be so many beautiful things, but you're letting them. And sometimes people don't know in that moment, and that's okay. You can say, you don't have to
Yeah.
know right now, but I want you to know this is an open invitation for me to gain your trust back. So what can I do to make it right now? And the last thing you do is you say, thank you for listening. You don't have to share anymore if you don't want to right now, but I am open to continuing this conversation at any point. You let me know, and I would love to continue this conversation and follow through. If they don't come back and say, I have more thoughts, you might want to just
Yeah.
send a follow-up email and say, I loved talking with you. I'm so glad we're on the right track. If you have any other thoughts about what we talked about, I have these like moments in my schedule open. That is the
Yeah.
authentic apology 5-step process leaders should take when they're addressing someone that they've fractured their relationship with.
I love the wording of right now. I
Yeah,
think so often when we're having hard conversations, it can almost get to so later. So, or you saying like, "Hey, I'm really sorry about that, Sarah, that I did that. And how are you feeling about that?" And yeah, so hopefully over the next few months we can figure this out. And it feels like it's never going to get there. Or you're
I
like, they don't
know.
even. So opening it up and saying, "What can I do right now?" to
That's
to
right.
help start build this bridge back, right? And I think some people might take right now as in this very moment while we're sitting face to face, and other people might take that as like this week, or in this project.
When I work with couples, some things that people have said in that moment is they'll say, I need a hug. I know that's not appropriate for the workplace, but in relationships, that's one thing that usually feels really good. Sometimes people say, I'm just glad that you're here and talking to Sarah, like together. So coming back again, like those are some real things that I've heard in sessions when I've taught people how to do authentic apologies. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to give some of the listeners some ideas of and examples of real life right
Yeah.
here, right now. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I love the word authentic apology. So often when I have like little kids, you're like, say sorry. And they go, sorry. And they walk away, and you're like, that was not authentic. And I'm now
Yeah.
embarrassed of how you said sorry. Like that didn't mend anything,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so teach me this authentic apology of, I'm sorry that I did this thing. And I want to hear from you on
Yeah.
how you're feeling
They
about
don't really need to know what it is. They just need to know, like, I noticed we have a fractured relationship. Something's off. And I want to
it. Yeah.
start it off with I'm sorry for that. And this is so powerful with kids. When you brought up parenting, I was going to say that throwing the ball of power to a child and saying, what can I do to make it right now is so beautiful. And you can see, I've had parents that I've been coaching, and they'll start to have that as their home apology process. And their
Yeah.
friends start to understand it in their home. That's how they have apologies. And so it can be a domino effect. It can be really beautiful as long as you're willing to take time through it and not just say, oh, sorry. Yeah. Just going through it real quickly. Take time, breathe each
Yes.
step. Yeah.
At the end of every episode, we always talk about what if it works. And I'm going to talk about it
Yeah.
right now because I think you
Great.
just brought up a beautiful moment of what if this works? What does that look like? What does that feel like at work? What does that feel like in your other relationships? You are going to see that role modeling take
Mm-hmm.
place. You're role modeling how we apologize to other people. When your
Yeah.
employee makes a mistake the next time, they're going to have that language in their back pocket because they've seen it modeled in a
Yeah.
safe way that they felt comfortable receiving. And so that's what I love about leaders modeling what they want from their people is because it is going to come back around, or a parent modeling that for a child and then listening to a child teach their younger sibling on how to apologize. it's
Yes.
it's this beautiful role modeling, and what if that works? What if people around your office know how to take accountability for when they've made a mistake and
Yeah.
listen to the feedback other people provide? I just think that's such a beautiful situation right there.
I just had one more thing that I wanted to add. What if it works? I know for me, in my personal story that I shared, I would have had a mended relationship. I needed that conversation that never took place. Had we had that, I think I would be in a different place in my life right now. And I wouldn't have felt belittled. I wouldn't have felt ignored. I would have had a mended relationship with someone that I looked up to. The value of that relationship would grow immensely. That would have been huge in that point of my life. So that's what
Yeah.
I thought of when, what if it works? We would have had a stronger relationship and we would have had a system to figure it out. Yeah.
And I think pulling that to other leaders,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't open that door for conversation, you have people like Sara leaving your company
That's right.
and taking their skills elsewhere. And your people will be impacted by the loss of a strong individual that you had on your staff.
Yep.
And so sometimes it is, we just got to get over ourselves. And, I think some people, when they become put in a position of power, they just take on that authority role of, well,
Yeah.
this is how I do it, and people need to get used to that. And as
Yes.
much as I would love to say, yes, you get to lead, I also want to remind you that you're not just leading an organization for productivity. You are also leading and mentoring and growing
Mm-hmm.
other people, because someday you're not going to be there anymore and you
Yep.
want your workplace to continue to thrive. So it's not just about your numbers while you're there. It's about the people under you and above you, how you are showing up, how you are modeling what other people could be doing, and how you are bringing out the best in others. And you're not going to be able to do that by believing you're
No,
never wrong
that's
or
like
that you've
leadership
never been.
legacy, right? Like that could be your legacy. You handled crucial conversations the best in the whole building, the whole company. What a wonderful thing for people to remember.
Whenever I'm working with clients, I almost always hear about a mentor that they just
Oh,
give out in conversation. I'm not asking them about it, but they'll say, when I worked for this person, man, I remember they made me feel blank. I don't
yeah,
know that I've ever had a client say, when I worked for this person, we were the most productive we've ever been, and we
mm,
made the most money under that person's leadership. It's
yeah,
all about how they made people feel, how they made
that's
them
right.
feel valued or confident or, just again, authentically themselves. And so I think that's a great way to wrap up this episode. That's what you gain. What if it works? What if you having one conversation? Or let's also throw this out, Sara. We did not discuss this, but imagine you make a mistake as a leader and you
Yeah.
break trust with an entire team,
Oof.
and you go to that next staff meeting and you say, I am sorry for this situation. And I understand that there have been some difficult feelings because of the decision I made. And
That's
I want to
correct.
hear from those of you
Oh,
who have
so
felt,
powerful.
right?
Yeah.
I
Oh my
I
gosh.
just like I literally have goosebumps thinking about a leader saying that to me and
Mm-hmm.
allowing us as a team to feel validated that the action they took broke trust with us, but that we can continue to trust this individual,
Mm-hmm.
right? Episode of one that you and I did, episode 54, we had talked about, like, sometimes you get done with a situation and you go, but I can still trust this individual.
That's right.
It's really hard to trust someone if they don't acknowledge it and they
Yeah.
ignore it and they move on. And so just
Yeah.
think of the power that you could have with your team when you recognize a fracture in trust and give them the space to have a conversation so that you can get right back to where you were and continue to build that. I just think that's
Mm,
so beautiful.
I do too. Well said.
So great. I love these episodes. We have one more episode that Sara and I are going to do together about trust and really wrapping up what we've discussed so far and really getting everybody feeling excited to have these tough conversations and move forward, building more trust. So that'll be coming next episode. But before we wrap this episode up, we said we have some birthday gifts for you. So Sara,
Yeah.
let's start with you. It's my birthday, and I'm just so grateful that you're willing to give away a free gift on this wonderful birthday
Yeah.
episode.
So
What
my
do you have for me?
present is a one-on-one coaching session free. And I usually our coaching sessions They can be in person if you're living in Wisconsin or near Wauwatosa. And I also do virtual sessions. And I wanted to offer people a session that kind of goes like this. We sit down or we talk and we have a little activity to find out what's kind of the icky part that's making you feel unproductive in your life. And then we get to the root of it. And I usually leave the client on the first session because I work real fast and we get real down to the roots and try to be as productive as possible. An action step that you can take right away in your life. And to get that free present that we're giving away on Anne's B-Day, you just need to go to Empath website, which is empathcounselingllc.com. And
Inquire.
you're going to go to Inquire. And in the message, all you have to say is, I want to work with Sara. And the key phrase is, what if it works?
I love that so much. That's so great. So get on over empathcounselingllc.com. You'll hit the two little lines in the top right corner. Go to Inquire. You'll fill in a little bit of information so Sara can contact you back, and go ahead and add that in there. Now, we are going to leave this open. The winner of the free coaching will be selected in our next episode. So come on back to episode 56, where we will announce the winner. So you have 1 week from today. So let's just be really clear. Today is August 21st, and we will be selecting our winners on August 27th. So be back for that, and then it'll launch on August 28th. So you have 1 week to get entered for the one session with Sara. And so head on over to the website, fill in the information, and we'll draw a winner. I also have a gift for today. I do want to let my listeners know that if you are not on the Impact Influence Facebook page, head on over there, like the page, because back in July, I asked, what should I give away for the birthday episode? And so many people commented that they wanted free coaching. And so I want to give you exactly what you want. And so I am giving away 4 leadership coaching sessions or culture coaching sessions. These are for us to come together, learn about who you are, who you work with, and what the culture you want to create. Right away in session 1, we create some action plans. And then the next 3 weeks, we're just consistently building that culture you want through different actions, different conversations, setting up different systems, as we talked about today, so that by the end of the 4 weeks, you can literally feel a shift at work. And that's what we want for all of you. All of these episodes are about is for you to feel that shift and to be feeling like you are in a space where there is momentum and energy. In order to get entered into the giveaway, we're going to be drawing 1 lucky winner for the couple session, 1 lucky winner for the individual session, and 1 lucky winner for the leadership coaching session. You need to go to anvote.com, and on there you can click the contact button in the top right corner, fill out the who you are, where you work, and in the message just write free coaching, or you can write birthday giveaway, or you can send me a little birthday shout out, because my birthday is my favorite day of the year. I am so excited for today. And I don't know, some people hate birthdays. I love them. I'm 41 years old today and so darn proud of it. And I think it's because there's just been so much momentum in the last few years. And so,
and joy, right?
It's more exciting, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So go get entered for those. We're going to be drawing those during our next episode, which will come out on August 28th. We will draw 1 lucky winner live on that episode for you and contact and connect with you to get you those sessions. Sara, thank you so much for bringing us clarity and just those action steps so that we can feel confident when we run into a situation that we're not super proud of. I really appreciate it. I'm back again to the What If It Works podcast. Make sure if you are not subscribed, you go ahead and do that. Also, if you are not aware, we are on YouTube. So you can go find the What If It Works podcast over on YouTube. So you can see our lovely faces and all of the faces of the people that have been interviewed in the past. I am so grateful you are here. Go out there, take action, and create positive change.